Listen, guys, the U.S. 10-year, which is what they price all debt's based on the U.S. 10-year, it took a beating today. It's now sitting at 2.94%. 2.94% now. In pre-market trading right now, the Dow Jones is down 153 points. I'll tell you what, this trend better not continue, or we just might not make it. And I said that the market crash was going to hold off until April, sometime in April, or maybe in August. We might not make it to that if this trend doesn't hold up. Now, I'm going to tell you what. Your banks out there, they've put policies in place for something that they call bail-ins. And they've made it all legal in Canada here, in the United States, in the United Kingdom, everywhere now, all through Europe. The BAARD has made it legal all through Europe. It's an agreement that they've got. It's legal almost everywhere now. It's called bail-in, and I'll tell you what it basically amounts to. They've changed the legal definition of what you actually are to your bank. You are now what's considered to be an unsecured lender to the bank. Unsecured is the key word. It means that they can do whatever they want with your money that you have in the bank, and they don't have to give it back to you. They've already put the laws in place. They can bail in 100% of your money, and there's nothing that you can do about it. In other words, they can take your money if the bank gets in trouble. They can secure your money. They call it a haircut. They'll give you a haircut. That's what they call it. And they've also put laws in place so that the Federal Deposit Insurance Commission in the United States, here in Canada it's called the CDIC, the Canadian Deposit Insurance Commission. They are supposed to insure your money. But they've put laws in place so that the big shots get the money first. And there's not enough money in there to go around. And so basically what I'm telling all of you out there is that just go in and try to get your money. If you've got, say, more than $10,000, go into your bank and say, hey, you know what? I want to make a withdrawal of $10,000. And see what happens. See if you can walk out with your money. You know what will happen? The tellers will come up and they're going to ask you why you want it. And you're going to say, hey, it's my money. Why do I need to tell you what I want it for? It's my money. And they're going to say, well, I'm sorry, we don't keep that kind of money, that kind of cash here at this branch. You're going to have to file paperwork with us, and you're going to have to sign a whole bunch of papers, and then you're going to have to wait 2 weeks. You know, that's if they give it to you at all. And they're going to make you feel sort of like a criminal. They're going to make you sign all kinds of different government papers and stuff. So now, if you're in this situation, and that's the only savings that you have, is your bank account right now in fiat, you are in jeopardy. You are in jeopardy and you don't even know it. Because that money is not even real. They don't even have that money. You picture that money being back in the vault? It's not. You and all your friends and all your neighbors, your money doesn't even exist in the real world. Now, when you go into the bank and you say, give me cash, and they hand you the cash across the counter, that money really exists, but they're limited to how much they're going to give you. You might get away if you ask for like $2,000. You can probably get away with that. And they'll slide it across the counter to you. They'll ask you, what do you want? Big bills, small bills, whatever. Tell them small bills. And get your money out of there. Start working at it. Go in, get 1,000, get 2,000 to a time. And get your money out of there and get it into cash. Because at least as in the form of cash, it's real. And you own it. It's in your possession, right? You can take that cash and you can go out then and you can buy stuff like silver while you still can. Because I'm going to tell you what, this whole thing's coming down, and if all you got's that money in the bank, you're likely going to lose. They're going to do a haircut to you. They're going to take all your money. They're going to steal it. Basically amounts to stealing it. Now, I got an idea of scenario, just for the fun of it. Just for the fun of it. Let's just go here. And this is not, doesn't mean that they're really going to do this. It's just an idea I had in my head, you know, and I don't really expect them to do this at all. But what if the bankers were to? I mean, they all got vaults in all these banks. And they don't use the vaults for anything now, hardly. Because they don't keep any cash, hardly, at the banks. They keep very little cash. They probably only keep, a bank probably only keeps 50,000 or something in cash at any given time. You know, which is not much, really. You know, so they don't keep a lot of cash on hand. And so there's nothing much back in the vault. And they all got these big, the vaults have really well built in these banks. They could use those vaults to store gold in and silver in, but mostly gold. Now, what if they did this? What if the banks did this? I shouldn't give them ideas because they're a bunch of crooks. And if I give them ideas, they might go out and do it. But what if they pull this whole story about this crisis that's coming? You know, crisis is coming, ah! You know, and they got your money. They're all holding your money. Well, in digital form anyway, they're holding your money. Right? So they can use that digital money to do whatever they want. So they on a Friday night, you know, the system shuts down. And they're in control of the system. So they shut the system down. Right? And so they got an excuse to not open up on Monday morning because they're going to shut the entire system down. So they shut the entire system down, and all the bankers are all in on it. They're all buddies, and they all tell one another, hey, you know what? We're shutting the system down this weekend. Oh, yeah, they're all in agreement. Okay, we're going to shut the system down this weekend. And they're all in agreement on what they're going to do. They got their vaults, and they got your money in digital form. They buy all the gold on earth in one weekend that's left. Whatever they can get their hands on. And the silver. All of it. They buy it all. With your money. And they truck it back. They use their Brinks trucks, workmen that do anything they tell them to do. If they told their Brinks workmen, because they got pretty cushy jobs, if they told them to go out and drink manure, they would drink manure. They'll do whatever the bank tells them to do. So they tell the Brinks guys to go out and get this real gold and silver and bring it in, put it in our vaults. So they do that. And the bank remains closed. So they truck all this stuff in, they put it in their vaults, the bank. All the bankers are all in collusion. They're all in collusion, all this. They're all doing it simultaneously. They put all this gold and silver back in their vaults. And diamonds and whatever they can buy with your money. And there's nothing illegal about it because they've put the paperwork in already that they're allowed to do this. They're allowed to use your money to buy whatever they want. They're allowed to. It's already legal. So they're not doing anything illegal. And they put all this loot, gold, silver, diamonds, jewelry, everything, they put it back in the vaults, right? Now, while they're buying it, those first few days, and the banks are closing, nobody can get into banks, nobody knows what they're doing. They leave the markets open or whatever a little bit, and they go and they buy all this stuff. Now, remember, this is just a story. I'm just making all this up, but I'm just pretending. But what if they did this? They buy all this stuff, right? And they throw it all back in the vaults. And they got it all heaped in there. It looks like King Solomon's treasure. A big mountain of gold in every vault all across America. They bought it with your money, right? Then they stay closed. Now, think about what would happen. If they're spending your money, voluminous amounts of it, to buy all the gold, silver, artwork, anything that they can get a hold of, and they're slinging it in the vaults, what's it going to do when all that money hits the pan? It all comes in the system. All that money, they just pour it into everything. They've just bought everything with your money. And all that money comes flooding into the system. Well, the price of money is going to go down the toilet hole overnight while they're closed. And you can't make a withdrawal. So you can't make a withdrawal. They've just spent all your money, of everyone's money. What would that be in the United States? Like $100 trillion or something. They've spent it all. in one fell swoop in the first few days, Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday. They spend it all. Or let's just say, because now they got computer trading, let's say Monday, they spend it all. Tuesday, the dollar crashes because they've spent it all and they've put all that money in liquidity into the system, and the dollar goes down to say it's worth, the buying power is worth 1/10,000th of what it was the day before. Right? So then they've got all this gold. So say the bank bought 2 tons of gold. One bank in particular bought 2 tons of gold with the amount of money that they had of your money. Say they bought 2 tons of gold. Then what they do is the next day, when the money is only worth 1/10,000th of what it was the day before, then they go out and buy all your money back with a tiny little fraction of the gold that they purchased the day before. Because they move the market so much, they just take a little bit what they had purchased the day before, and they go out and buy all your money back. Then the next day, they open up and give you all back your money again. And they get to keep all the gold that they purchased. What if they did something like that? I mean, I don't trust them. They're bankers. They know how to cheat everyone out of your money. And so then they give you all your money back, and your money's not worth hardly anything anymore. I say, here, take it. Oh, by the way, we're going to do a bail-in too as well. So they're only going to give you a percentage of the money back that they stole from you to use to buy the precious metals with, and then they sold the precious metals, and then they still got the precious metals. I mean, I don't trust them to not pull rackets like that. But I really don't trust them if your money is in the vaults someplace, a vaulting company, and you've bought gold and silver and you've put it in the vault with a vaulting company. These vaulting companies are all owned by the banks, if you didn't know. They're all owned by the banks, and the banks are just going to come in there and they're just going to take receivership of everything that's in there. It doesn't matter if you own it, you got papers showing you own it, whatever. That doesn't matter to the receivership company. The banks just went down. The bank owns the vault. They take everything in the vault and put it into receivership. And then they're going to take like 5 years sorting through it. Meanwhile, you don't have the use of any of it. It's not yours anymore. It's receivership companies that belongs to that's counting it over to see how much the bank owes. And they're going to do some sort of a bail-in thing on that, too. So, the only thing you're going to come away with in this whole thing is if you've bought something, like gold or silver or cryptocurrencies or whatever, and you're holding it in your own possession. You're not trusting anybody. Don't trust any third parties. Don't trust the banks. Don't trust any third parties to hold your money. Even a vaulting company. Don't trust them. Hold everything yourself. And this means you're going to have to be very careful about storage and so on. You just don't go out and buy a dozen silver eagles and leave them laying in the middle of your kitchen table. You know? Because you'll go out to get a coffee and you'll come back and their silver eagles are gone. You'll say, where did they go? They were here on the kitchen table. It's no good, man. You got to get smart in this world we live in. And I'm going to tell you what else, too. If you don't know how to fire a gun, go out and learn. It's time to learn. You know? It's time that you learn, and it's time that you learn how to protect yourself. It's also time that you learn how to store away some canned food and some bottled water for yourself. And don't forget to store away salt. Don't forget to store away sugar. Now, bottled water doesn't go bad. Lasts for years. White flour is a great thing to store away. You can always make bread when the time comes. If you got white flour, and that stuff is just like pesticide. It lasts forever. It's a white powder. As long as you keep that stuff dry, you can use it 10 years from now. Robin Hood white, rich, bleached white flour. It is the exact same thing. You can use it, and if you can't use it to bake your bread with, you can always sprinkle a little bit on the floor to kill the bugs, kill the ants. That's what they've been feeding us. For the most part, that's what they've been feeding us. You know, they make everything with it. Your soup crackers, your bread, all of your pastries, all of your donuts, the things you eat every day. You know, noodles. You might have a can of spaghetti or something. You know, Chef Boyardee or whatever, and that's white and rich bleached white flours in those noodles. And then you might have a slice of bread with that and whatnot, and you're eating it all day long, and you don't even know you're eating it. This white and rich and bleached white flour. So when the crisis hits, what's it going to hurt you to eat it for a few days more? You've been eating it all along anyway and didn't know you're eating it. But it lasts forever. Buy a couple bags of that and put it in a cool, dry place in your house, and you can bake bread during the crisis. Because practically all bread is just a bit of water, a little bit of water. Oh, buy a little bottle of yeast, too. Fleshman's yeast, and put it away, a little bottle of it. And about 2 or 3 20-kilogram bags or 50-pound bag of white and rich bleached white flour. Right? Go out and buy yourself a little Coleman camp stove that runs on propane, and put away some propane cylinders for yourself. So when the crisis hits, and here's the thing, you're going to have to be careful. When the crisis hits and you start cooking your bread, you're going to have to be careful. You're going to have to do it at 3 a.m. And keep your windows shut when you make it. Otherwise, you're going to get raided. That's if we get a SHFT. We probably won't. I'm only giving it about a 20% chance of happening, an SHTF. Except in Europe, over in not the EU, not the UK, I mean, but the EU. In the EU, I'm giving it a much higher percentage because the central banks are not going to be able to bail out to bail out the banks over there. It's just going to be a mess, and the banks go down. Money is tied into everything, and money is what makes the just-in-time supply routes work, because all the trucking companies are all tied into the banks. And they have to pay their employees, they have to buy gas and everything else. So they make their runs to the grocery stores, the trucking companies, and then they have to have enough money from the banks. The banks supply them with the money they need to buy the next run for fuel and everything else, and to pay their employees. Now, if the bank has gone under, then the trucking company can't pay its employees, it can't pay for its gas, and then they cease to run. And because they cease to run, then the grocery store goes empty. And when the grocery store goes empty, everybody loots. And then what happens is all the windows are smashed out of the front of the grocery store and all the lights are out. And then it's all over. Guys, you ain't going to get no food. It's going to be Venezuela. So if this crisis situation hits, Europe, everything except for England, could turn into Venezuela, with people running around in the streets, even eating live animals. You know, they're eating their pets. They've been for a long time eating their pets in Venezuela. You know, eating their dogs and cats. I heard that one guy, he was taking a bunch of chickens or whatever to the poultry place for processing, and they stopped his truck and they were hauling the chickens off and they were eating them raw. They were tearing them apart, feathers and all. And the same thing with goats and the goats and with other live animals. They're chasing. I seen one picture of them chasing a beef cow down and throwing stones at it and killing it with stones, just like a bunch of cavemen, and eating it raw in Venezuela. And this is what could be coming to the European Union. America will probably escape all this because the central bank is going to be the heroes and they're going to fix it for us. And we're going to pat them all on the back after they do it and say, hey, you're so good for saving it. But they're the ones who caused the problem in the first place. And then they're going to fix the problem, and then they're going to be heroes. Anyway, I've talked enough. Thank you guys for listening. Like and subscribe, and we'll catch you in the next show. Bye.